Welcome to this week's Cattle Call. I'm Susan Littlefield on the Rural Radio Network. We took a week off because of the holiday, and we know you farmers and ranchers do not take time off, and we appreciate everything that you did during the holidays as well, because it takes time away from your family. But we are going to dive back in to what we see in these markets. So we're going to talk a little about what's going on in box beef. We'll look at the fundamentals, the weather concerns, and how much the market's going to be paying attention to that information. We'll also talk about, is there the possibility during this month of January to see some higher numbers? As you can see, Brad Kooima joins us. He's with Kooima Varilek out of Center, Iowa. And welcome, Matt. I know that you took some quality time off to be with your family this last week, and you were missed because I got actual messages and text messages going, "What's Cattle Call?" So we are back at it. Let's talk about the fundamentals. What are you seeing right now?
Well, thanks for those kind words, and thanks for having me on, of course. I had a really fun time. My wife and I have 3 married kids and 9 grandchildren, and the whole outfit went out to Colorado skiing. At one time or another, I was on the mountain with 8 of our 9 grandkids. Yeah. The only reason there wasn't 9 because he's only 1.5, and even though he's obviously very gifted, he isn't able to quite keep up
with you guys.
Yeah, so it was a very nice time away. Very thankful for time spent with family. Everybody knows I'm kind of a fundamentalist first on the cattle thing, and a couple things, being that we've been off here for a week or two, a couple things strike me a little bit from maybe a more of a macro type of a look. It would be that the price structure of where futures are relative to cash, or in other words, basis. Okay. Now I know it's been a mild winter up till now. We'll talk maybe more about that in a little bit, but so cattle have had good performance, of course. But for February cattle to be discounted to cash this time of year is very, very rare. Market here yesterday was 175. There was even a little bit of 177 paid up here in Northwest Iowa. So the Feb cattle sitting here at 171 and a quarter or whatever, 171.12, look a little undervalued to me. I don't know how else to describe it. So I think the perception in the market here is, coming off of the September and October placement numbers, if you all remember, that changed the whole, vibe in the market, that there's this feeling out here that we've got this excessive supply for the first quarter. I personally am not in that camp. I do not see them in my backyard in the north, and usually the north is very important. Famous quote from Charlie McVeigh: "The beginning and the end of all markets start in Iowa." Good friend of mine who I had a great deal of respect for. So I guess I'm feeling a little more optimistic. I think the difference in the fundamental vibe for me here compared to, say, 4 weeks ago is it felt like we had no leverage then. You had a packer that was bought out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, a bunch of short kill weeks coming at you. It just felt like you couldn't hardly get a bid, and the market, was just dropping like a piano. So I've done too much talking here, but now it feels like the packers is closer to the knife. I think everybody's within a week or two of the knife now, and I think we've got maybe just a tick of leverage back here now for the producer.
Does that mean possibilities of some higher prices for this first half of 24?
That's what I'm thinking. I think cash is all right here, going to be a little higher. I think it'll be a little higher again next week. I really look for the cash to work back more to that 180 level again. Now, I've got a little bit of gorilla in the closet, smoke in the room, whatever, with this box beef market that you hinted at here on when we started. Now, to break the middles, to break the rib meat this time of year, which is what's happening, is normal, but $12 in 3 days is a little severe. I'm not going to make a light of it. I would say that seasonally this happens, but yeah, this is a little severe. If you would, pin me down and say, "Well, Brad, are you bearish demand?" I'm going to still answer no to that. And I think I've heard this threat of recession now for going on 3 years. It's like maybe not. I mean, obviously, if they're going to lower the interest rates, it's because they see the economy slowing. But in the scope of things, I'm kind of tired of hearing this. You better be bearish, Brad, because you're going to get a recession.
What did you hear? Because I've heard mixed comments about the holiday and what was movement across the meat counter. Some said it was disappointing. Did you hear any different?
Clearance is what we've always called it. How was the weekend clearance, or how was the holiday clearance stuff? and it was mixed. We had a little trouble with weather on the East Coast, they tell me, and that maybe slowed things down just a little bit. And you miss that kind of demand because either you're going to go out and go out to dinner, or you missed it, right? You're going to go buy a prime rib, or now the relatives are all gone again, and that's where you're at. So I thank goodness. No, just kidding. I still don't think though that it could have been a little better, but I'm going to sit there and say I don't think that changes my overall perspective in the market.
What about weather concerns? Because I know that there's talk on snow with some rain mixtures, which does not make for the most ideal growing conditions for cattle. What are you hearing right now in this latest system?
Well, Susan, I think you've highlighted what I believe is probably the most important fundamental that the market's going to encounter here in the next week or two. Contrast with, not, I like to try to be funny, where this weather was perfect, cattle go 4 pounds a day, 2 more pounds at night. But we've had ideal growing conditions up until now. Now, I'm in Northwest Iowa, like your home base there. It looks like they're going to catch the weather. I might miss it here. And I'm not a weather guy, but obviously I watch it because it's important to the market. There's areas that are forecasted to have 3 different systems roll through it. The epicenter of that area, which is up for grabs right now, maybe a little bit, basically is eastern Nebraska and Kansas, maybe closer to the border of those 2 states, subject to change. But, if they get what they're talking, maybe upwards to 10, 12 inches of snow, that's going to slow this record weight gain down. And that's going to be bullish fed cattle if that all develops. The one thing that I think is interesting, here's the farmer in me, but it seems like when the weather starts to pattern, right, and you're going like, geez, we got to have every storm in my backyard, why, and of course that's some of the El Nino effect, right, but not that I'd wish any bad luck on anybody, but if we continue to track that storm through that, there's a heavy cattle population through that area. That might be a big deal here, particularly when the market's trading at a discount, when typically it trades at a premium, so there's a little room there.
All right, lots of things to look at. I want to ask one final question for you. As you look at this first couple months of 2024, what's the one optimistic thing you're thinking of for this cattle market?
Cattle inventory report the last day of January. If that doesn't show an all-time record small number of cattle available outside of feed yards, I'll buy everybody a drink. Okay. I don't know how it can be otherwise. You can't place cattle when you got the smallest cow herd in 60 years, have a little bulge in the placements because they placed them early. That has to mean there's less available to be placed. I don't know how else it give me, but we shall see what they say. I'm anxious to see those reports at the end of the month.
So having said that, real quick, as a follow-up, are we going to see then the markets, as we get closer to this report, being a little cautious, not knowing what those numbers will say?
Well, there seems to be an interest on the part of the trader. I'm going to answer it like a trader, which I guess I am. If you look at the market, there seems to be an interest in deferred cattle, live cattle, and in deferred feeder cattle futures, which once again you've had the similar added vibe that you had here a year and a half ago, where the speculators said, well, it looks like there's less cattle. I don't know when this thing's going to start, but I guess I'll just buy something way out there a long way. Yeah, I think you can even see a little bit of that aspect in this light calf market, where these 5-weight steer calves are still bringing just the same price that they brought all summer long when the market was $25, $100 higher, So, I guess let's keep an eye on things. We got an election year. There's a lot of stuff going to happen here this year, but in the here and now, I just feel a little better about the market than the last time you and I visited.
All right. Sounds good, Brad. Best way for folks to get a hold of you guys?
Hey, you hit us up at kkvtrading.com, or we do have a telephone, 712-722-0023.
All right, Brad Kooima has been joining us today. Just a reminder, commodity futures and options do involve a substantial risk of loss, not suitable to all investors. That's this week's Cattle Call on the Rural Radio Network.